Well, it's been quite a few weeks since I made a video. It's winter here in Tasmania, or what we pass for winter, and that means things are pretty slow. There's not been a lot happening in terms of outdoors. The main thing that I have been doing is pruning. This afternoon I'm on my last two trees. This is the second last tree, and then I've got one more tree, and my major pruning for the winter is over. There's quite a number of trees that I have in the orchard, and some of them are fairly large, so it can take a while to do. Usually I will probably get around about 4 or 5 trees done in a day. But in winter here, of course, we get quite a lot of rain, so you don't get to do it every day. Today we've got some beautiful sunshine. We had a frosty start to the morning, and we've got a few days of that this week. Next week it's back to drizzly, rainy weather again, and so not so pleasant outdoors. I've also lost a fair bit of time over the last month with viruses in the family. We've all been sick and had the flu. It was so bad actually that my daughter spent a few days in hospital with pneumonia. So it takes your attention off gardening, and well, thankfully winter, that really doesn't matter so much. I wanted to show you a few things happening here in the orchard today, and also then talk about what I'm planning in the next month to give you a little bit of a step ahead on spring, which is that far away. Now this is an apricot tree that I'm attacking at the moment, and I'm being fairly savage with it. Now, apricots I've not found to be a very productive tree for us, whether it's our particular climate, our soil. A few things probably combine in that way. They often set fairly well, but then you lose fruit for a number of reasons. It can be wind, or sometimes they don't set well at all because you get frost when the flowers are around, because apricots flower pretty early. And our orchard here is pretty cool in winter. We have the issue of these large trees to the north which shield us from the sun in wintertime, and that means that it's pretty cool down here. I don't really like starting work down here before 10 o'clock because otherwise you get painful hands and feet and so on because it's still frosty. So that's not really great for setting fruit early, which is what apricots do. So I'm cutting them back pretty hard. I really don't want them big, and I want the fruiting stuff down low where I can actually, one, pick it, and I can prune it easier if it's down lower. Now this particular apricot, whatever stock it is on, is a really annoying one because it likes to shoot, and so I'm constantly cutting back underneath the shoots from the rootstock. It doesn't help that this is an area which is sloped down here below, a little pond. That means I can't run over it with a mower and do it the easy way. But yeah, that's just an annoying thing about this particular tree. The other trees, I don't really have that issue. We have 4 apricots, and yeah, the amount of apricots we get from them, you really question whether it's worth having them at all, and particularly whether it's worth spending the time that you spend, the fertilizer. Apples and plums produce really well. Cherries, sometimes you get some cherries to eat. It just depends on the season. They're really nice when you do get them, so you're more inclined to grow those. Pears, when you get good pears, then you're really happy. The best one we have is a Camise pear, and it really has beautiful pears, but it doesn't have a really good crop every year. The Nashi pear is something that does crop fairly well every year. It's quite reliable, but apricots are probably the least productive thing that we have, and one that I really question whether we should even bother growing them. Now, last spring I did some grafting on the apples, and I wanted to show you those grafts and how they're going. So it was the first time grafting apples for me, so it was experimental. And I did 9 grafts in all. 3 of them failed. The other 6 have been successful. And I've got successful grafts on 3 different varieties, all 3 that I was given. So I'm really quite happy with that. Now I've got 2 here on this tree, which I have marked with some white tape so that I didn't prune them off. And coming in close, you can see how they have actually healed over nicely, and these were both producing quite long shoots on them, but I have trimmed that back earlier in the season, and they look really quite good. Now they're both the same variety on this one, and I've also got a third of that variety on another tree which also has done really well. So with this particular variety, which I believe is a cooking apple, it is 3 out of 3 were successful. Now the second variety, only 2 of the 3 grafts that I did were successful. It's not as vigorous a variety, this one, but this particular graft is done really nicely. Now it's not in an ideal position. I would really have preferred it closer in, and of course you're probably better doing your grafts when you've got smaller trees and you're going to actually get a larger section of your tree being that type of fruit. Of course, this is, as I say, an experimental learning thing for me. So I was simply trying to match anywhere on the tree that I could to get the actual size. But this has come away quite nicely, and it's already moving to actually shoot in the spring. So that's good. And I've got a second one of these that's also done okay. Now this is the third variety, and this is actually a crabapple graft that I have done onto a Golden Delicious apple tree. Now the idea of grafting crabapple into your apple tree is to actually increase the fruit set because of the cross-fertilisation that will occur. I did 3 crabapple grafts on 3 different trees, and this is the only one that was successful. The other 2 both had a greater degree of sun exposure, so they would have had a lot more UV on them and possibly dried out also. This one on the back of the tree behind the leaves that were there was more sheltered and was successful. It was quite long, it was shooting out quite well. I have trimmed it back and I think it will take off quite well. One of the little things that I did on my grafts, which was something that I came up with myself, I've not seen anyone else do this, but I used a little bit of silicone on the end to actually seal it to try and stop them drying out. This was taped for quite a lot of months, but now it's untaped and I've just got the little bit of white tape here so that I can identify it. But it's actually formed in quite well, looks quite strong, and I'm really happy with that. So I've established for myself that I can graft, and this year I'm going to try doing some grafts on a pear tree. The one pear tree that I've got left to prune, I'm going to leave some material on that and try to put some camise onto that a little bit later. So we'll have a look at that perhaps on video in another few weeks when that comes around. Once I've finished pruning, what comes next? Well, for the trees, the next thing is going to be actually fertilizing them. This is something I've made a couple of videos about in the past, so I probably won't make a video around it. I'll put a link up in this corner if you want to go and actually have a look at any of those and see what I do in terms of fertilizing fruit trees. It's generally August that I do it here, which is late winter, and I'll go around all the trees, give them a good feed. I have already planted some seed in one punnet for some early tomatoes. Within the next couple of weeks I'll plant more seed for my main tomato crop. I of course will be starting that with some warmth, so that it means at night bringing it in over the fireplace so that it gets some warmth, putting it out in the sun during the day. So if you haven't thought about getting tomato seeds started, do that now. Or in the next couple of weeks at least, so that you actually have those plants ready when you want them. And it's really worth growing your own tomato plants. Yes, you can go and buy them, but it's much more interesting if you grow them from seed yourself. There's not a lot coming in the veggie garden at the moment. There's very little harvesting, a few carrots, some kale, not a lot else. I've got some snow peas just coming through. In the next couple of weeks also I will plant broad beans and get them started. But the most of the garden is going to stay under the plastic, which it's under at the moment, until the end of August. And so when that time comes, we'll probably make a video and look at what's happening there. So that's a little update on what's been happening in the garden. As I say, not a lot over winter. I better get back and finish up with that apricot tree, finish the pruning on it and get my last tree pruned. And I'll be back soon with another video.